If we can get to where the root of this is, here's some of the questions. When was the first time you felt you were alone? What happened? What's your first memory of money? When was the first time you felt unsafe? When was the first time you lied to protect someone else? When did someone first let you down? Where did you first feel out of control? There's so many things that happen in kids' lives. Hit by a car at 3, at 4 years old, or 5 years old, get molested at 6 or 7. My cousins saying, think I'm asleep, saying what a nerd and dork I am, and they don't like me. Like all these things, we think that they're insignificant when we're adults because we should know better. But the problem is we stunt our maturity at the moment we try to protect ourselves. We stunt our maturity by saying, I'll never let this happen again, and anything and everything that reminds us of that day or that moment becomes a trigger. I love the show The Town. It's directed by Ben Affleck. And he's talking to this girl that he's dating, and she says, a sunny day. But she says it really in a depressed way. He goes, what do you mean? Yeah, just another sunny day. My brother died on a day like this. So now a sunny day reminds her of the death of her brother. That's the thing. All this stuff is so subtle. Playing not to lose is a subtlety. It's not the obvious thing. It could be obvious to outside people, but to us, it's just we think we're doing what's best and what's right. We don't want to hurt someone's feelings. We want to be a team player. We have all the right justifications of why we do what we do, how we go about doing it. And when we're in anger, frustration, resentment, or sadness, or any unprocessed emotion, we make illogical, irrational choices and justify it by sugarcoating it with we're doing the right thing because we're a good person. I'm the good guy. Come on, we all know there's 3 sides to a story. And here's the deal. I have to learn, to be honest in all situations, even if it might hurt someone's feelings. I can learn how to be honest without being piercing, but being reserved and not saying will just create a bigger mess in the future. Your intuition is always fulfilling, but rarely convenient. It's rarely convenient. It's and by the way, tough conversations and courage, it's never going to be convenient. And another line from the play is, I'm like, we make future moments and projects so big, we pretend there isn't time for anything else. But we always make time for funerals. We always make time for weddings. We always make time for birthdays. But we don't make time for the biggest conversations because we're afraid of having them. And part of that might be because of something that happened when we were kids. And this is where I'm going to be just a little bit on the airy-fairy side, because my wife's like, hey, you should talk to this woman, Allison. So I meet with Allison. Allison can tell just by watching me on Zoom, she can tell my neurology runs hot and I'm trying to do everything right. And she's like, can you just relax? And I was like, okay. And then she's like, we'll really relax. And it took our whole first call was her reading me like a book and me being annoyed that it was just that apparent to her. But second call, she says, have you ever talked to your mom about your birth? I'm like, no. And so I call my mom. I'm like, hey, I'm working with this therapist and I just want to hear about the birth. My mom's like, well, the cord wrapped around your neck, you stopped breathing. They hit me in the face with the forceps, and my lip swells, it's bleeding. They finally get me out. They have to palpitate me with fingers, 2 fingers, and then they rip me out of my mom's arms, and I don't get to be held for 24 hours. I'm a baby. I shouldn't remember that. But once I figured that out, I realized all my reasons for doing illogical, irrational things was because of a fear of abandonment. I people-pleased out of a fear of abandonment. I smoothed things over out of fear of abandonment. I'm not as bold as I could be because of a fear of abandonment. And once I figured that out, it's weird because I just did a cranial sacral session with somatic therapy, and I've had zero fear of abandonment ever since. I wasn't worried about being abandoned. I was worried about, am I going to live a life of congruency? And am I going to be able to live a life of expression? Or I'm going to be suppressed based upon someone else's expectations and conditions? And then I had to look at myself and say, I'm frustrated about this because I'm too conditional, because I have too many expectations. And that, like, I have a best friend that moved away a couple years ago. It was really hard on him. He didn't want to disappoint me. I'm like, that's how I'm showing up to people? They don't want to disappoint me by living their best life because I want them around me? I just start examining some of that behavior and realize maybe when someone leaves early, that's what's best for them, and don't try to like get them to stay or any, like, I just started to look at it as letting people be more of who they are and finding a way to co-create a way that we could invest time together or be around each other, but not out of expectation and not out of like manipulation, because nobody feels fulfilled out of manipulation. So I'm looking at this pain as a gift because it led me to do a lot of writing, a lot of spiritual work, a lot of difficult conversations, feel very close to the people that really care for me. And I've got to tell you, I felt like the universe provided. People were calling like, this feels like an information marketing company. You feel more soulful than the videos that are coming out here. Like, it was just constant bombardment from people I care about. And instead of justifying, defending, or saying no, for once I listened. And I looked at it as, I just heard, and anyone seen this book, Unreasonable Hospitality? Unreasonable Hospitality, the guy just got, Will is his name. They just named his restaurant the best restaurant in the world. And it's in New York City. And I got to see him speak 2 weeks ago. And it forever changed me, hearing him speak and what he talked about. I mean, I just realized I'm too busy in my mind managing something. And instead, what if I was just in a place of this winning game where it was all about co-creation, elements of surprise, and connection? And like, that's emergence. That's this here today. That's like being friends with our customers instead of them just being a person on Zoom that I don't get to see. We have the cameras on here today. Like, watching Will and hearing like some of his stories, like, for example, one of the stories I shared with Corey is they created dream weavers at their restaurant. And so as soon as someone books their restaurant, they start researching them. They found out this couple that came into the restaurant was supposed to have a wedding. The families didn't get along, so they eloped. So what they did is they slow rolled them through the restaurant so that they were the last ones to leave, found out their wedding song, took them upstairs where all of the waitstaff was now in their street clothes versus their uniforms, and had a DJ play the song while they danced together. And that was how they finished their night at the restaurant. I was like, that's what I want. That's why Emergence, because we can actually have these unique experiences that still we think of on a daily basis. You know, I mean, my last immersion, I'm going to be like, I don't know that this was the best idea, but I've never been more of myself because first off, Jordan Peterson was in town. So I took him to see Jordan, and my wife wanted to see Jordan. So then we went to this restaurant where he and my wife started drinking and got to know each other. And it was, you know, she's got, a potty mouth, we'll say, worse than mine, you know, but he didn't care, you know. And then we go up to the cabin, and it was Trisha's birthday. So we took the Can-Am into the town, singing Pearl Jam at the top of our lungs in the Can-Am, just, you know. And then I was like, hey, if we get done, one of my friends is having a party. I got so drunk, he had to drive me home. And so he stayed at our house that night and then worked out with us the next morning. And by the way, this is one of Brock's referrals. And he just sent us the card where he's like, thanks for letting me all the way in. And I mean, we ended up working out together. We ended up getting a cold plunge. He ended up using this Harambe. Like, there's these things that are in his life every single day, and he's texting me almost every day. And so like, that's the level of intimacy that I want with what we're doing here. And I will share even I mentioned I had a hemorrhoid because I didn't get my book done. I mean, I'll share. You guys are like, maybe we don't want to know Garrett this well. Maybe there's some line that we should draw. But the reality is we all have warts. We have these situations, and we look at other people's lives thinking it's the life that we want. But even if we could copy that life, it won't be the life that we want. It's their life. And it's not even their life, it's how they portray their life. It's not everything that they are. It's only what we are allowed to see. And what I want to do is create shared moments where we have connection, where we have vulnerability, and it feels monumental, even if it's just a moment that we really feel connected, that we could reference as the starting point and the point we could count on in our relationship. That you could count on us, even if you're in that moment where you're like, I feel like I'm at rock bottom all of a sudden. I feel like I'm losing my identity. I feel like I'm in a losing game. I feel like I made a major mistake. I don't know what to do next. Let us be there. Let's talk. We won't tell anyone. Nobody needs to know. But it's nice that you know that if you're looping, you can reach out. Hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And if you're enjoying these videos, well, there's good news. More where that came from. So go ahead and click through and watch the next video now.